The following podcast contains controversial information.
Wow. Did you hear that one?
Like that, and in hope of a response. And if you didn't get one right away, what was suspected was that it was either sleeping or it was at another area, because it was theorized that hypothesized that there's tunnels going to these other chambers that look like built up mounds. Because if you look down here, these are boulders stacked up, which could make someone think that it could be a rock wall, but it's just a natural formation because there's got an old river right through here where it used to run.
The Bigfoot Tree, the Bigfoot Mafia, and what can happen if you get on the wrong side of those people. Coming up next on Encounters USA. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Hines for Encounters USA. We are your one-stop podcast and YouTube channel for all things alien, Bigfoot, and Dogman. So relax, kick up your feet, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special Encounters USA. Today, we're going to be talking about the Lori Simmons, Michael Wallace Bigfoot Tree. Unfortunately, Michael Wallace could not join us today. Now, we had a podcast scheduled. I don't know what happened. All I know is that I have not heard from Michael, and I just hope that he's okay. But as they say, the show must go on, and this topic is too important to just let go. The other reason we're doing this podcast today is because I've spent a lot of time talking to Michael. I have spent a lot of time putting things on my website and really promoting Michael and promoting this podcast. So with the information that I've been able to glean, and with what his sister Lori has given me, we're going to go ahead with the podcast with or without Michael. And the reason that we're doing this is because, first of all, because Michael started a while ago saying that he had information. I guess that he liked the podcast with Brent, which if you haven't seen, then I will put a link here or here. I'm not sure where it shows up, but one of those, I'll put the link there and you can watch that other podcast. And I really encourage you to do so, because you're kind of not going to really know the full story if you don't watch it. So you can watch it afterwards as well. It's probably not going to make that much difference, but there are some things that I want to point out before we get going too far. This is kind of a disclaimer. Now, I know this is a paranormal podcast, and I know that the things that we're talking about on this podcast are on here because they haven't been proven. And so there's no real evidence to prove them one way or another. So when it comes to this Bigfoot tree, I want people to know this is one of the most divisive subjects or topics within the Bigfoot community that I've seen since I've been doing Encounters USA. And I came into it not knowing anything. And to be quite honest, I was really taken in by the Bigfoot tree. It has all the elements of a beautiful story. You've got Lori Simmons, a very beautiful, like young maiden type who is interacting with the Bigfoot that her father found and had a relationship with. And then the father passed on, and that relationship continues with a daughter, and the daughter only has to go to a tree. I mean, and talk to them. I mean, it's really like a Bigfoot fairy tale, isn't it? And so who would not be fascinated by this? Now, to be quite honest with you, I'd heard a little bit about Lori's brother, but I thought that, well, there was no communication, and the one to talk to was about the whole matter was Lori, and that's it. So I communicated with her a few times, but she was very adamant. I am not interested in the Bigfoot story. I'm away from that. I've got a family, so on and so on. I said, all right. And I went to another source, and that was Mr. Brent Dill. And so we did an interview out at the Bigfoot tree. We sat 3 feet from the Bigfoot tree. Brent pointed out what he thought was the source of the sounds that you're going to hear in a few minutes when we listen to these Bigfoot tapes, Bigfoot videos. See how old I am now? All right. So that's the thing that I want people to understand is that I really was fascinated by this story from the beginning. I wanted to follow it up. I wanted to see what was there. And the only person that I had a chance to talk to was Mr. Brent Dill. Now, let me point out also, because this is one of the most divisive things that is in the Bigfoot community. And that is that Brent did not subscribe to the Bigfoot tree, whereas obviously Lori subscribes to the Bigfoot tree. Brent has people who agree with him. Lori has people who agree with her. These two sides, I had no idea. I had people that would not talk to me after I did the podcast, would not talk to me. And I was really, I was shocked at that. How can you argue over something that has not even been proven? And so that's how it was after I did the interview with Brent Dill. And this is a good time to point out a few things. Encounters USA is coming up on 3 years. Three years. In all that time, we have been, with some exceptions, we have been very open to everything everybody has to say. If you have an opinion, you're welcome, or I'm sorry, not an opinion, but if you have research or if you have ideas or et cetera, a book, something substantial that you want to come forward and share with the world, that's what we're here for, as long as it's aliens, Bigfoot, or Dogman. So I asked Lori to be on the show, and she didn't want to be on the show. Brent wanted to be on the show. I let Brent be on the show. If you have an opinion, and Brent was his thing was that, and this is very important, and I hope that Lori and Michael and everybody else out there is listening. Brent was very adamant that Michael and Lori's father had interactions with Bigfoot out there where he was operating, and the Bigfoot tree was not it. And so that really fascinated me, and that's what got me so interested in the whole story. I mean, forget about the whole, fairy tale thing, etc. Brent said there's more to this than that. So I'm fascinated, but when I approached Lori and she didn't really seem interested in doing any more, and I didn't know Michael, then I let it just, I thought that was it. End of the story. Maybe pick it up, if there's ever any like Bigfoot sightings out there or something, say, hey, there was this tree. And also I'm just going to say very briefly, when I was out there interviewing Brent, I saw, it could have been anything, and it could have just been an optical illusion, and probably was, okay? But off in the distance, maybe 40 yards, we're looking through like a thicket, and there's a rotten log here, and it extends quite a ways. But over off in the way, there's, like some shrubberies. And above the shrubbery, it looked like a head, but the head was green. It was a green head, and it wasn't shaped like a head. It was coned. It was a cone-shaped head. I thought it looked like a head of. I thought it was a vegetable, really, but it was a cone-shaped green kind of head. And I let Brent was talking, and if you watch the video, you'll see me kind of look, what was that? And as soon as the video was over, I said, let's go check over there and see if there's any sign of anything, because I saw it just briefly, like for a second, and he's talking and I'm looking, and what is that? So that was, anyway. So when I left there, just based on what Brent said, that there's more things than the tree to this Bigfoot thing. And then I kind of got that creepy kind of hair standing up on the back of your head thing, because I don't know what it was. It was like something was there and it wasn't there. And it could have, and most likely was just a switch in the lighting, light real quick, and then back to dark. The only thing was that there was nothing there to light on. It was an open kind of a little space. So with all of that being said, I left it and nothing. So a few weeks ago, Michael approached me, and didn't approach me like in the street, whatever, but he sent me an email, and he said that, apparently he liked the podcast, whatever, and he was interested in, sharing, some more information. And so I've been posting things on my website. And if you haven't seen it, encountersusa.com. I've been posting these pictures on my website. And if you haven't seen them yet, go to encountersusa.com, and it's just there on the front page. Some of these pictures, they're going to be there for a little while longer. I mean, they're not going to be there for all the years this video and podcast will be up. But if you get it within the first few weeks of April and May 2021, you might see these. They might stay there longer, depending on if I continue to follow this story. But I'll tell you right now, since I'm on the subject, I'm not going to follow this story any longer unless Michael comes forward with other evidence. We're going to see the videos that Lori submitted to me, and we're going to see the video that Michael submitted to me. And I'm going to let you judge for yourself, but I'm also going to say what I think about the videos and whether or not I think they present the credible evidence that you would base all of this information on. So the thing about the Bigfoot tree that you have to understand, and why you might get people like Tom Cantrell, Adam Davies, and other prominent Bigfoot researchers to sign off on this theory that a Bigfoot is living next to the road under a tree, is that it solves a lot of problems. And although I have not actually read Mr. Davies' material or these other researchers, I don't know how many of them expound the idea that Bigfoot lives underground. But if you think about it, the Bigfoot underground, Bigfoot living underneath the tree, or Bigfoot living underneath trees solves a lot of problems. So the problem that it solves, first of all, is where are the Bigfoots? Well, they're underground. They live underground. Well, why don't we ever find a dead Bigfoot? Well, because they die underground, like when they're sick, or when they die above ground, they get carried underground. Okay, well, it explains those very, those are the biggest questions as far as the Bigfoot go. The other question is, well, how come Bigfoot just seems to appear and disappear? Well, because they go underground into the trees, right? So when you got this tree thing going, and you can judge for yourself, but just for the people that are involved, I just want people to understand what I think their line of thinking is that it solves a lot of questions. I mean, there's, where's the Bigfoot? Why don't we see him? Why, how can he disappear? Yada, 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 all these things. And in that case, then you have a primate, right? You don't have a quantum Bigfoot. You don't have an extraterrestrial Bigfoot. You have a primate that lives underground, under trees, and makes noises when certain people come around or in other situations. So I don't want to tarry on any longer, but I would like to point out before we start looking at these videos, a couple of things. It's been 3 years since we started at Encounters USA, and we started out in Harstein Island on the Hood Canal, and we went out to Lake Chapman and looked at Rich Germeau's Bigfoot encounters there. And so the big exciting news I want people to know is that we have found the guy. Okay, Rich took me to this guy's property, and he has come forward and said, yeah, I'm the guy that owned that property. Now, Rich was very adamant. I couldn't take any pictures, and I couldn't even no pictures of the road, no anything to show how you get to that spot. The only thing I was allowed to take pictures of was of the area where Rich was interacting with these Bigfoot. Now, I will tell you this right now. When I was there, Rich explained to me that, and you'll see in the pictures when I interview him next week, but Rich explained to me that you could only go a certain way. And if you cross that, then that would cause problems for you. So that was very interesting, but we're going to hear more about that when we talk to somebody I call Mr. X for right now, but his identity will be revealed next week because he's coming out with a book about his encounters. So that's going to be really interesting. And I just want to, before we peel off and start looking at our first video, I just want people to understand what's coming up on Encounters USA. So with that, again, I am not judging. I'm just going to tell you that at Encounters USA, you have the right to come and say anything. If there is no real credible evidence to the stuff that you're presenting, then that has to be pointed out. And so let's look at what we have here from Lori and from Michael, and let's, you can make your own decisions, but let's hope that Michael is okay and that he has more information that his dad did in his research. Now, according to Michael, he had a lot of information. So we, are looking forward to hearing from Michael and finding out more about that. But for now, let's look at this video. And this is what Lori and Michael say prove the existence of something living under a tree somewhere in the Cascade Range. All right. And with that, let's watch the first video.
Hey, big guy.
My goodness.
Hi. How are you? You having a good day? No? Okay. Well, we're gonna walk up here to the river. You have a good day.
My goodness.
He's grumpy.
Is that so?
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness.
We're gonna walk over to the river, okay?
Not that I disbelieved you, so why am I so shocked?
Because it is shocking.
Yeah.
It is shocking.
Yeah.
See, at that one part, it was a growl.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a.
So you may be
Growl?
getting that. See, my card filled up. It just broke down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a growl.
Pretty?
That's a growl.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, he's growling.
You want another treat? You want another treat? You want another treat?
No?
Now, this video was actually presented to me by both Lori and Michael, and both times it is presented as evidence. And in the second video, or in the video that Michael presented to me, which is a much shorter, there's some of these videos I kind of get mixed up because it looks like the same, there's a car in these other ones, but I don't think they're actually the same same time frame. They might be all the same people, but there are some, differences in the video that I don't think they're the same. So, what did you think of that first video? Because as I said, these were presented to me by Lori as evidence. And if Michael was here, and I don't know why he's not, but Michael, I would just ask him, okay, there's the sound of this thumping thing, right? But if you watch the video that I made with Brent Dill, we actually point the camera up at the tree as the wind is blowing and watch as the tree makes a similar sound. Now, is that a coincidence that the Bigfoot and the tree make the same sound? That's up to you. And that thumping kind of sound, well, that's not normal for a tree now, is it? So again, in that video, the supposition is, and it is in the next ones, that a Bigfoot family, I believe, is living under the tree and they are interacting. And I also want to point out in that last video, I do apologize. I don't think it's I don't know who that person is. I want to say it's Peter Byrne, but whoever that is really seems to sign off on what's going on there. Now, anyway, it's up to you. So without further ado, let's continue on with our next video. Now, this video was submitted by Michael Wallace, and Michael said this is, I would thought Michael had new evidence. And so I really was disappointed when Michael sent me this and said, this is, I don't know what he said, but basically he sent me this he said, look at the end of the video and listen to the noise it makes. That is the same noise that you will hear here, and then we'll just continue on. So, hey everyone, Matthew Hines here for Encounters USA Apparel. This summer, look your best in these Encounters USA tank tops. We also have these really sharp looking t-shirts, soft and lightweight. In addition, for those colder, chilly days, we have Encounters USA hoodies, zip up, and pullovers. We've got everything for everyone. Now, back to the action.
Wow. Did you hear that one? Oh, it's like I feel the whole ground shake.
I think I had to send it. So it didn't save it because it had
Get in the car, see that thing. Come on.
had to be sent as a message. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't just record it. It recorded it, but I had to send it.
Still pumping up there. You want to be out here when this thing comes out, Chris?
Oh, that's really loud.
That's like on top of the tree. That sound. Wow.
It's really pissed off.
Okay. Did you hear the sound right before Lori said it sounds pissed off? Well, that was the same sound at the end of the first clip. So I just want to point that out. Now, in the next clip that we're going to see, and just I wanted to point out, in that clip that you saw, there's a white car, and it's on a road. Okay, so that is a road. As you can see, it's fairly well maintained, which means it's probably fairly well trafficked. And so the premise again is that nearby this road, near enough where you can hear it that well to record it off of, I don't know what they're using, but the tree is not that far from the road. So the family of Bigfoots living in the tree, under the tree, near this heavily trafficked road is the supposition here. And that is what you either believe, accept, or you don't accept. So the next thing that we're going to see is, if I can clean off my glasses, good golly. The next thing we're going to see is what Lori also submits to us as proof of evidence. And I think it has like a soundtrack on it. So you're just going to have to listen, and then we will pick it up at the end of the video, because I don't think I can talk over the soundtrack. All right, now that we've seen that, what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm just going to copy and paste it. And now we're going to watch it again. Only this time, I am going to turn the sound down. And the reason for that is that I want to point out some things about this video. And again, I want to point out some things about this evidence. And look, if you want to come on Encounters USA and talk about evidence you have, I'm not going to sit there and tear you apart, whatever. But if it really looks like shoddy evidence, then come on, I'm going to point that out, because I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of chucklehead. And I'm sure that you don't want to listen to a podcast where the guy who's putting it on believes in everything anybody tells him. But we have to take an objective approach to things. And on this video, there are some things I want to point out with this evidence. So let's just move right along and start up. Now I'm going to stop from time to time. All right, first picture. There is something wrong with every single one of these pictures, and it is this. Now this one is not, actually this one might be, who knows what it is. It could be like the imprint from that log right there or a stick of wood, but I don't know. But I'll tell you, if you look at the imprint in that mud, think of how soft that mud is and how heavy of an animal would it be to not sink into that mud further than that. So the next thing I want to point out, which is not present but is present here on this footprint, is notice how the heel is embedded, and then the arch part is up, and then the toes are pressed into the ground. Now, every time you take a step, as you probably know, you put your weight on your toes to push off. So that means that your footprint always pushes your toes into the ground. The balls of your feet push that dirt up. So you are never, ever, ever going to have a uniform footprint under conditions like this, right? Where it's something flat. Now, with that in mind, let's continue. Now, I can't make out much of what this is, but I want you to look at this one. All right. So again, look at the depth. The heel is very deep, and then it kind of, or deep, we can't really tell because of the shot, the angle of the camera, etc. But it appears to be a little bit deeper than the toes. And what appears is that it slopes upward when it comes to the toes. Now, remember what I said, that when you push off with your toes, you go try it sometime in sand or whatever, if you've never done it, but you'll see that your toes push up this little mound of dirt behind them. And that is because they're propelling your body forward. So for any creature, especially one of this size, to have a flat signature like this, a very flat, thin signature, it denotes something that is really closer to probably human than something else. Whoops, I just moved back. So let's continue and I'm not saying that it's not genuine, but I am saying that I'm very skeptical. Now, look at these. Again, in the middle, you have fairly defined toes, and those would be defined because of the pressure that they put off. Now, I don't know whose evidence this is. I don't know if this is Lori's evidence, and I don't know if it's Jeff Meldrum's evidence or if it's Adam Davies' evidence, but look at the differences in the prints. They're very thin, and like the prints that Jeff Meldrum has, they're very wide because they need to support a very large structure. So these are what they are, and you can take them for what they are, but there is nothing to really tell the scale. The book on the left was probably a 6-inch binding, actually 9-inch binding. So that could be about a 9-inch footprint, which is not exceptional. All right. And so here we go again, another footprint. Now this one also seems, look at how it stepped. It stepped heel, but then how did it step without pushing down? So, and also a very, very small print. So now again, we have a measuring tape, and I don't know what that is. All right. Again, now this one is one print that I thought was a little more acceptable. Looks like we've got about a 17, almost 18-inch, footprint. And now this one looks like it is flatter across and able to support a larger structure. And also look at the toes. It kind of seems like, it's kind of used its toes to push off in the way that we do. So I thought of all the footprints that I saw, This one seemed the most realistic, most real to me, and the most acceptable. But again, I don't know whose evidence this is because it's not clear on the video. So more footprints. And here's more footprints in the snow. And also look at the snow melt, how rounded the snow is. That means that it is melted. This is typical for Washington State. So that may have been a much deeper track at some point. And the melting snow may have done something to affect that, the depth. If we could hear, we'd probably hear them talking about the stride of the foot or the Bigfoot. So we are going to take a look at the surroundings very quickly. I am not sure what that is supposed to be. Looked almost like a Bigfoot. And now here we are back at the tree. This is near the tree. I think I remember this. I don't remember if I remember it. And this is a campsite where I know Tom and Lori and Tom Cantrell and Lori and Adam Davies were all together. This is Lori's father, Don Wallace. And I guess that's the end of the tape. And there I said tape again. So there you have it. I wanted to have Michael Wallace on the podcast to talk about the evidence that they had, because he assured me that they had a lot more evidence. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened with Michael. He's not on the podcast. I only hope he's okay. But as you can see, this topic is something that I have always thought was important. The only problem now is, as I said before, when I found out it was the tree, I went to the tree. Okay, not really interested in the topic anymore. When Michael came out and said that they had more evidence, then bingo, I was interested because of what Brent had said and because of kind of what I saw, and that I got a feeling based also on the fact that there's all kinds of Bigfoot activity in the area, that there was something to the story. So I wish Michael had been here to defend it, or I don't want to say defend himself, but when I got that video from Michael, when I was expecting to, like a recording or something, or, real, not the tree. When I got that recording, I thought, well, there better be something more when he comes on the podcast. And unfortunately, there wasn't, because he never came on the podcast. So we don't really know. And if there is something more, then surely we would all like to hear it and we would all like to see it. But if this is it, I think I have had enough. I have asked Savella Khalil, who she is in charge of the Marble Mount Bigfoot Festival, and it happens in July, by the way. I don't want to say, maybe I'll say August, first part of August. But anyway, she's in charge of the Marble Mount Bigfoot Festival. And according to Brent Dill, she is out there still doing research and having interactions. So when I was out there before, as you'll see on the video, when you watch it with Brent, that somebody had left peanut butter and apples, and I drove out there with Brent, so I probably wasn't him. So maybe Savella had left that stuff out there, but the choice is yours. The decision is yours to make. And as I said before, this is the most divisive issue probably in the Bigfoot community about this tree. And I'll tell you, I've had people that have told me, oh, you don't want to go near that Bigfoot tree. It's all a hoax, et cetera, et cetera. And I say, yeah, well, maybe that's what you think about the tree. Okay, but maybe there is more. So I'm still of the opinion that there's more. And maybe it's with Michael, and maybe it's not. But I'm still looking for it. And as I said, if it comes out that there is Bigfoot activity in that area, or a Bigfoot is spotted, et cetera, I'm going to say, aha, I knew it. There is something out there. Now, whether or not it's under that tree, that is your decision to make. So before we wind up here, I just want to thank everybody for your continued support over the years. I have to send a shout out to my one, well, I guess I'm married, so I have two groupies, and but one of them is safely over in England. But I want to send a shout out to Carla. And Carla, thanks for following and for posting your funny posts on my videos. And it's always a pleasure when I see your colorful little quirky comments coming from jolly old UK. And for the rest of you, I appreciate your comments as well. I appreciate your support, and I do appreciate your feedback. Now, we're going full tilt here at Encounters USA. As I said, we've got a Lake Cushman podcast coming up, and we're doing research in the Cascades area aside from the Bigfoot tree right now as we speak. So lots of stuff is going on here at Encounters USA. I really encourage you to support us. You can support us by subscribing. You can support us by liking the videos. You can support us by going to Encounters USA and buying one of our nifty t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, or tank tops, or buy one of my 6 books. So if you want to support Encounters USA and keep us going strong, that's how you do it. Now, if you have any comments, whatever, please try to be nice. I know that everybody has their opinion about this tree, and I bet you that not everybody's been out there. So I just want you to be polite, and whatever you think about that tree, leave your opinions and your remarks in the comments, and I will answer you as well as I can if you're nice. And if you want to see, I really was going to interview Savella Khalil and Brent, but I don't see anything more to interview about because there's no changes. So I don't want anybody, I'm never going to give this, anybody a platform to say somebody's wrong, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not that kind of person, and I don't do that. So without more evidence for people to, like Savella and Brent, to, look at, to judge, to say, I agree with it, I don't agree with it, then I don't see any need for another interview over the topic. So at this point in time, I'm tying off the Bigfoot tree short of hearing from Michael Wallace, and I sure would like to, and short of hearing that Lori wants to come on the podcast and defend her father, which is what I've always wanted. So Lori, if you want to do that, you are welcome anytime. And Michael, of course, you're also welcome. And what would be super cool is if I could get Michael and Lori on the podcast at the same time. So we'll see what happens. But for Encounters USA, I think that we're going to tie this episode off. And again, after 3 years, and we're coming up on, I think, we're almost up to 100 episodes. And I know, but I run for office. I get, I have other things going on. I've got another podcast. So it's not like, I'm not busy, but I really am getting focused on Encounters USA, at least until my next political campaign. So you have that going for you. So for Encounters USA, we just want to say that if you're out in the Cascades, especially around the Bigfoot tree, we don't know what happened to Michael Wallace. So until we find out, if you're up there near Concrete, Baker Lake, or Highway 2, always watch your back. Matthew Hines here. Just want to remind you, if you like this kind of content, subscribe to this channel, whether you're listening on podcast or watching on YouTube. Also, go to encountersusa.com for more videos and podcasts, all archived for your convenience. Also, we have a wonderful Encounters USA blog, as well as an Encounters USA paranormal shop for all of your paranormal apparel. So, not only can you watch your back, you can put some of our designs on yours as well. So we'll see you on down the road on Encounters USA.